Hello, welcome to the first episode of the podcast, Eye of the Beholder. I am your host, Dulce Crystal Ortiz. I am a certified clinical hypnotherapist. And in this first episode, I just wanted to touch on the definition of what hypnotherapy is, guide us towards how hypnotherapy works in conjunction with regression therapy. Mainly, there are many forms of regression, but mainly I wanted to touch on throughout this podcast the stories of clients that have been able to experience past lives and how those past lives have manifested and affected in their current lives in all aspects, in the physical, in the emotional, in the spiritual realm. So before we get into the nice juicy details of how many of these interesting stories and past lives have been able to affect these people, and even myself included, I'm going to be sharing some of my stories as well of regression therapy and how that has helped me to heal as well and change and become a better version of myself. But a little bit about what I do, which is hypnotherapy. What hypnosis is, it is an altered state of awareness. And the interesting thing about hypnosis is that it is something that can be experienced by any living being or creature. If you do any form of meditation, if you do any form of healing or therapies, and you feel like you go somewhere else within your mind, that in itself is a form of hypnosis. But when you are guided into it by a hypnotherapist, you will see that the version of hypnosis that you go into, it's a lot more deeper, it's a lot more in a trance-like state. And when you're in those states, it's something that can help you to bypass the conscious mind and you go into the subconscious. The mind is broken up into, well, let's narrow it down to like 3 parts. So the mind is made up of about 3 parts that we're going to be focusing on, which is let's say the conscious mind is the first part. Then we have the analytical part of the mind, which is sort of like the doorway, the bridge, the security part of your mind that doesn't allow just anyone to go further into the other part of the mind, which is what we would call the subconscious part. Because the subconscious is where we hold many of our programs, the programs that we don't necessarily understand or know why we act the way we do, but we just do. And that is honestly the part of the mind that we should be more in tune with, because that is the part of the mind that is guiding us and leading us to react the way that we do, to behave the way that we do. And a lot of the times it's not always positive. Well, depending on your level of healing, to be honest. What level are you on your healing journey? If you're very unhealed, then yeah, it can be very dangerous, very tragic even at times. And who wants to live, in a state of tragedy? We always want to feel better and do better and be better, but sometimes even though we are consciously aware we're doing wrong or deciding on something that is wrong for us, it's because it's the conscious mind that is battling the subconscious. Now, again, in the readings that I have done, I've found that it's believed that 20% of the mind is guided by the conscious mind. So the conscious mind is the part of the mind that is like what is going on here right now with me speaking to you guys. So it's me being consciously aware of my wording and how I'm speaking and how I'm sharing. So that's the conscious part. That's 20% of the mind that is being guided by the consciousness. So if we go further down into the subconscious actually runs 80% of what we decide to do, our decision making, our programs, as they say. So a lot of the programs that we have instilled within us, They are programs that come in from a very young age, from when we are very young. It's a child part of it's our childhood mainly. The people that influenced us, that showed us right from wrong, or maybe if we didn't have that system to look after. But the interesting thing is that the subconscious is the part of us, the child part of us, that never really grows up. That is something that is very important. But the interesting thing is that that's not the only thing that is affecting us. It's something more sometimes, or something else. Sometimes it could be the bloodline, genetics. It could be generational. It could be past lives. It could be that possibly your soul, your consciousness is so sensitive that it even harbors information around you or the environment that you come from. And there's not ever like a right answer. This is why I believe hypnotherapy should be shared more and explored more than it has been, because it really is a beautiful tool to use to get to the part of our, you could say superconscious, you could say soul, you could say universe, you could say guardians, gods, whatever way you want to word it. But the part of your mind that is connected to source, to the universe, and to your soul, it is the part that is honestly, truly the one part of us that is so pure and that is connected to everything, that it knows everything. We do hold all the answers within us, and to be able to explore that and go further in and find those parts of ourselves, the programs that no longer serve us, and be able to change that and make it better and rectify it and help us to be a better version of ourselves, really is a beautiful thing to experience. But going back to hypnotherapy, it is hypnosis along with therapeutic programs, helping to change old negative patterns, habits, programs, and making them better, making them positive. This is a personal statement that I'm making, but I do believe that any and all kind of therapy that is done, the deeper you go into a hypnotic state, you will find that you can do immense healing and immense change, depending on what state you're in, to be honest. There are different wavelengths, levels. During hypnosis, it's said that the brain shifts from its normal waking state, which is when you're in your conscious waking state. It's known as the beta wavelengths. Now, this is usually, in working in conjunction with alertness, focus, activity. Again, when you're speaking with someone, once you get into a state, a feeling of relaxation, you have focused attention, that is usually characterized as being in the alpha wavelength. So this is usually when you're daydreaming, when you're in a light meditative state. This is oftentimes the starting point of hypnosis. So as I said, whenever we go into a state of our mind is going off into a different state of awareness, that is the beginning process of hypnosis, which is also in the alpha wavelength state. Once you're going into another level of deeper relaxation, a meditation and creativity, so it's not just the lightness anymore. Now you're just more hyper focused into that deep relaxation or meditation or creativity, then you start being able to access the theta wavelength. So this is signifying a deeper, more receptive state where the clients, individuals, people may be able to experience insights and have a heightened openness to suggestions. So when it comes to hypnotherapy, there is, we like to term it as providing suggestions to the subconscious mind. So a lot of the times when people get to theta wavelengths, it is very interesting because from there, it's very easy. I've witnessed it's very easy for people to jump into regression. Then they'll jump into that other lifetime, a light step further in, and then you go into the delta wavelength. So this would be considered where we get the deep sleep and REM sleep. So at this point, this is where a client, once they get out of this state, they may not fully recall all of the events when they get out of it at that moment. It may take them some time. It may be days, hours, minutes. It could actually, they could just never need to recall when they were in that delta wavelength state. But even though consciously it doesn't come to the forefront, everything is always recorded. Everything is always there in the background. Your mind is always capturing information. That's why even when you sleep, the part of your mind that sleeps is the conscious mind. But when you go into REM sleep, deep sleep, that is typically the place where one can increase their abilities, their intuition, to a point where it could be considered like a transcendental meditation. It's a very deep trance-like state. And many people won't consciously remember because it's so far away on the scale, like from the delta to the beta, that it may sometimes be hard to bridge those memories of what that person said or experienced when they were in that state. But the thing is, again, your mind will never not know what happened. Like it will always know. And the thing is, when you trust the practitioner that you're with enough to be able to go into that deep state, that's where you will find that you will be able to experience deep healing. And it really is a beautiful thing, because when I initially started doing hypnosis with clients, I very much wanted to do it in a structural manner, organized, but I needed to find my own method. Yes, I had the tools, I had the information that I needed to be able to do a good job, but I wanted to impact more further in to what it is that the mind can do, to always go further, more deeper into like what it is that the mind, the body, the soul needed. And in pursuing that, I have had the amazing experiences of being with clients that have been able to go to other lifetimes. So it really is amazing what the mind can do, what the body is capable of being able to change and to heal. If the cells on a cellular level, they're always changing. Old cells are dying off, new ones are being created. Every second, every millisecond, this is happening in our body on a structural level. Can you imagine what happens when you're able to come together with your mind, your consciousness, your subconscious mind, superconscious mind, along with your physical body on a cellular level? Can just imagine what you're capable of doing. I think that's what really pushed me to want to do something like this, to do a podcast like this, where therapy can come forward. It can be seen and experienced and viewed, and honestly, it is a beautiful thing that I really hope and wish that a lot of people can experience, because we deserve that. We deserve to find peace. We deserve to find wholeness. And honestly, it's an experience. That's what it is at the end of the day. It is a beautiful experience where people can find a lot of answers to a lot of questions that they have within themselves. And that's something that I want to bring forward and bring to light. So with that, I want to thank you for joining me on this first episode of Eye of the Beholder. It's a little play on words, right? Like beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but life is also in the eye of the beholder. Everything, as they say, beauty is subjective, But life also is subjective. It's a beautiful thing to be able to experience life. And everyone has a story. Everyone comes from some point. Their soul has been somewhere, done things, have experienced things, and I just sort of wanted to bring that out into this podcast of these different people, their different experiences. I'm hoping to possibly get some people to come and do interviews as well. But for now, I kind of just wanted to be some episodes of sharing people that are able to regress to a past life and how it has affected them in their lifetime. So, and also including myself, I'm also going to share a lot of stories that I have experienced. It's a handful, and honestly, it's amazing because it's not something that I even thought that I was going to do. It just happened, and each time I was able to regress and go into those lifetimes, I was able to heal a large part of myself that I didn't know that I needed to heal. It's like when you're in that state of repeating the same thing over and over again, and you just think that's who you are and it's normal and that's how you're just going to be. It's not. You can be the best version of yourself. You can be the part of yourself that you know who you really are deep down, but it's just under the layers of experiences, of hurt, of pain, and that's what I'm hoping to bring forward. So if anyone out there wants to join me in doing a hypnotherapy session, I do provide hypnotherapy services one-on-one. You can create your appointment through my website at crystalspanacea.com. I do also sell t-shirts with, you could see the background, I have some sacred geometry back there. And I also, at the moment, I create the Flower of Life t-shirts. I don't know if you can see that there, but it's a chrome, metallic gold chrome. That's why it's a little shiny. But yeah, I do also, it's not this type of shirt actually. This is a different shirt that I just happen to sort of practice on, but mine are t-shirts and it comes in white or black. So you can also get your Flower of Life t-shirt. And sacred geometry is something that you're going to be seeing quite often when it comes to my videos, my website, things like that, because I do believe in the consciousness being able to open up and to sort of activate different parts of the mind when you're focused on, or even if you just look at one of these designs. So again, I do thank you for joining me for this first episode. I hope I was able to give a little bit of insight about hypnotherapy, and it may be a little boring this time, but I promise you that the next episode is going to be a little bit more fun because I'm going to delve into a personal story of one of my therapies of when I was able to regress to a past life, and how that was a very big, impactful lifetime. I'm sure there are others, but again, as we delve deeper and deeper down into the superconscious, we delve into the spirituality, you will find that your mind and your body will know what it is that you need to remember at its perfect time. Everything is done on divine timing. Nothing is by accident. Nothing is by chance. Everything is on purpose. So that's what we're going to go into. Oh, and also, I do have a Patreon. If anyone would like to join, you can become a member through, I'm going to have all the links down below. Oh, and this is so fun, but on Patreon, if you do join, I only have one membership tier, I believe it's called. I haven't done any other ones, but with that membership, it's the only one that's up. But in that membership, I am going to include having a weekly hypnotherapy group session. So again, I do thank you for joining me on this episode, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a great week.